In ancient Japan, there was a man who accepted humiliation every day, not because he was weak, but because he had a family who depended on him. In the clan's workshop, the younger ones laughed. They called him slow, old. They said he occupied a place that no longer belonged to him. He heard everything, and he did not answer. Each insult was still lighter than the thought of failing his household. His wife waited for him. His children grew up relying on what his hands could still produce, while others complained about the work. He accepted more tasks. When the others arrived, he was already working. When they left, he still remained. He never explained his reasons. He never asked for respect. He worked not to be seen, but to sustain what could not fall. What he did not know is that in ancient Japan, silent discipline always leaves traces, and someone was watching. Chapter 1. Constancy in a world that laughs at the weak. His name was no longer spoken with respect. In the clan's workshop, he was called only the old man, as if age had erased everything else. His name was Masanori, and in other times, his name would have carried weight, not because of great victories. He was never a celebrated warrior, but because of something ancient Japan recognized even when it pretended not to see it. Constancy. The constancy of those who do what must be done when no one is watching. The workshop was a place of darkened wood. The smell of oil and iron, shelves with parts, rolls of fabric, and sealed boxes bearing the clan's mark. It was not a battlefield. It was worse, in a quieter way, a place where men were judged every day, not by the sword, but by the value they could still offer. The younger men worked fast and spoke loudly. They had strength in their arms and impatience on their tongues. When Masanori miscalculated something simple or took too long to lift a load, they laughed as if it were their victory. "His hand's shaking," said one. "He should already be home, taking care of grandchildren," said another. "The clan pays him out of pity," added a third, and the others laughed, as if laughter itself were part of the job. Masanori heard it all. He kept it inside, not out of humility, by choice. He had learned many years ago that answering humiliation is giving it what it wants: time, energy, presence, and he had none of that left to spare. Every remaining fragment of strength was counted like rice in times of scarcity. At the end of the day, there was a small house on a narrow path, with a garden he tended as best he could. A simple house, without luxury, but solid. Inside it lived a woman who did not complain out loud, but who looked at his hands as if reading the future in them. And there were 2 children, still young, but already with eyes too alert for a world that demands too much, too early. His wife, Aiko, did not ask for riches. She asked for security, a life in which dinner was not a question, and winter was not a threat. And the children, without saying it, asked the same thing: ground that did not tremble. That was why Masanori accepted more tasks. Not the honorable ones. Those went to the young, who liked to be seen. But the tasks that demanded patience, repetition, and care: checking records, stacking materials properly, repairing worn tools, reading bindings, cleaning what others dirted and left behind. Work that gives no stories to tell. Work that sustains the stories of others. That morning, when he entered the workshop, fog still covered the courtyard. The doors creaked softly. The fire in the brazier was still small. He placed his things where he always did, tied the cloth around his head, and began. Before any conversation, he checked the seals on the boxes, one by one. Not because he distrusted the clan, but because negligence always finds an opening. Then he aligned the rolls of fabric, tightened the ropes, and corrected the markings on 2 records someone had written crookedly. Small mistakes, small risks. No one would thank him for that. No one would even notice until the day something went wrong. When the others arrived, the workshop was already in motion, and as always, his presence did not interrupt the mockery. "Working early today, old man?" they said with irony, as if discipline were stubbornness. Masanori did not answer. He simply continued. There was something almost cruel in the way he remained whole. There was no fury, no theatrics, only the precise repetition of a chosen duty, the kind of repetition that, over time, becomes a form of silence. Mid-morning, one of the young men dropped a box. Pieces scattered across the floor. There were laughs and curses. The boy tried to gather everything quickly, mixing sizes, putting things back carelessly, pretending nothing had happened. Masanori knelt down, not to help the young man. That would be taken as weakness. He knelt because mixed parts become losses, and losses become hunger. He separated them one by one, checked the markings, wiped away the dust, put them back in the proper place. The young man stood there, watching with barely hidden impatience, as if care itself were a shameful slowness. You planning to take all day, old man? Masanori raised his eyes for a moment. There was no anger, only the kind of certainty that comes from someone who has lost too much to argue with chance. A small mistake, he said quietly, becomes a bad day for someone who isn't even here. And he returned to the floor. The sentence was not a lecture. It was a record, a fact. In that workshop, few understood this, but someone did. On the other side of the courtyard, behind a wooden partition, there was a man who did not laugh, a man who did not speak loudly. The master of the workshop, responsible for clan stores, had watched Masanori for years and continued to watch, not the grand gestures, but the small ones, not pride but control, not talent but commitment. And that day, while the young competed for attention, Masanori's discipline continued to do what it always did, leaving traces that only the right eyes know how to see. Chapter 2. When discipline ceases to be invisible, the summons came at the end of an ordinary day. No announcement, no ceremony. A clan messenger approached Masanori while he was organizing the last boxes. He said only that the master wanted to see him. No reason was given. No expression could be read on the messenger's face. Masanori wiped his hands on the worn cloth he always carried, straightened his posture, and followed. There was no expectation in his steps. Men who have lived too long learn not to imagine rewards. The master was waiting for him, seated at a simple table. There were no documents spread out, no signs of urgency, only silence. "You've worked here for many years," the master said, without raising his voice. Masanori nodded. "You never asked for anything, never complained, never tried to appear greater than you are." The old man remained silent. This was neither a defense nor an accusation. It was simply truth placed on the table. The master continued. "Younger men pass through here every day. Some are fast, others are strong, but few carry the weight of this place when no one is watching." Then came the sentence Masanori did not expect to hear at that stage of life. "I want you to be my partner in the workshop." No emotion accompanied the offer, only responsibility. The master explained that Masanori would take on part of the management, silent decisions, control of the flow, and of the work that keeps everything standing. In return, he would receive 5 times what he earned before, not as a reward, as a consequence. Masanori did not answer immediately. He thought of his wife. He thought of his children. He thought of the harshest winters and the nights when rice was carefully counted. Then he bowed his head. "I accept," he said simply, with the new agreement. The change was not immediate, but it was firm. Months later, Masanori led his family to a larger house, with sturdier walls and enough space for the children to grow without bumping into fear. There was no luxury, but there was stability. Aiko did not cry. She simply breathed with relief, like someone finally releasing an old weight. Masanori continued waking early, continued arriving before the others, continued leaving after them. Discipline did not change. It merely stopped being invisible. He never told his story to his children as a triumph. He preferred that they learn by watching, because in ancient Japan, the men who truly won did not raise their voices when they arrived. They simply sustained what they had earned. Chapter 3, Gaman, when dedication surpasses talent. In ancient Japan, there was a word used to define men who continued even when everything seemed to work against them. That word was Gaman. Gaman did not mean winning. It did not mean being the best. It meant enduring without complaint and continuing to do what needed to be done, even when the effort went unrecognized. Masanori was never the most talented man in the workshop. He did not learn quickly. He did not stand out in the early days. And because of that, he was easily ignored. While the younger men relied on natural ability, He relied on daily repetition. While some only performed when they were being watched, he kept the same pace when no one was looking. Gaman is accepting that talent impresses at the beginning, but dedication decides who remains. The most talented men in the workshop fluctuated. On good days, they were exceptional. On difficult days, they lost control, complained, or disappeared. Masanori did not surpass them by being better. He surpassed them by not abandoning the work on the days when everything felt heavier. Constant dedication creates something that talent alone cannot build: trust. And over time, trust turns into responsibility. The master of the workshop was not looking for brilliance. He was looking for stability. Someone who could carry the weight when the work stopped being visible. In ancient Japan, it was said that talent opens doors, but it is Gaman, practiced every day, that decides what remains inside. And when talent fails, gets distracted, or grows tired, it is silent discipline that keeps moving forward, one ordinary day at a time. Chapter 4. Bringing this discipline into the modern world. Masanori's story does not belong to ancient Japan. It was only born there. The world has changed. Workshops became offices. Clans became companies. Masters rarely observe in silence anymore, but the logic remains intact. Today, humiliation rarely comes out loud. It comes as indifference, as unanswered messages, as the feeling of being replaceable, as a constant impression that effort is unseen and dedication goes unrewarded. Many give up at this point, not because they are weak, but because they confuse recognition with progress. In the modern world, talent still impresses. It generates quick attention, easy praise, immediate opportunities, but attention sustains nothing for very long. What sustains things is what almost no one accepts to practice: constancy when there is no audience. Gaman today is not enduring cold or hunger. It is enduring repetition. It is waking up to do the same work when no one promises anything in return. It is maintaining standards when it would be easier to relax. It is refusing to turn frustration into an excuse. We live in a time that rewards noise, but entrusts real weight to those who remain stable. Companies, families, projects, and people do not break due to a lack of talent. They break because someone stopped sustaining the basics when they grew too tired to continue. Masanori's story does not teach how to get rich. It teaches how not to collapse. It shows that dedication does not accelerate the path, but it prevents you from leaving it. Today, few people want to be constant. They want to be seen. They want early recognition. They want clear signs that they're on the right path. But real discipline rarely offers signs. It demands faith in the process with no guarantees at all. In the modern world, those who practice Gaman understand something simple. Difficult days are not exceptions. They are part of the cost. And those who abandon their duty on ordinary days will never be prepared for decisive ones. Masanori did not win because the world was fair. He won because he remained useful when it would have been more comfortable to quit. He did not wait to be respected in order to act with dignity. He acted with dignity even while being ignored. That is the part of the story that does not age. Today, perhaps no one is watching you. Perhaps your effort feels invisible. Perhaps others' talent makes more noise than your silent dedication. But the question this story leaves is not motivational. It is uncomfortable. Are you willing to sustain what matters, even when it feels like nothing is happening? Because yesterday, as today, it is not talent that decides who remains. It is those who continue with discipline when quitting would be easier. If this story made sense to you, then it touched something that still matters. This channel exists to tell stories about discipline, constancy, and about the kind of strength that does not need to be announced. If you want to keep listening to stories like this, leave a like, subscribe, and if this idea found space within you, leave a comment, not to agree, but to register that you were here, because stories like these are not made for everyone, only for those who remain in the face of adversity.